In December, we are getting a new Avengers movie titled Avengers Doomsday. So I decided taking up all the time until December, am going to go through the MCU, starting with Iron Man and going to Fantastic Four, I think was the last movie to release, and review every single MCU movie, starting with Iron Man today. Rewatching it all, reviewing it here on the channel. We're calling this series Road to Doomsday. Unless anyone has a better name for it, tell me in the comment section down below. Before I dive into Iron Man, the first film inside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, please subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell, and comment down below, what are your opinions on Iron Man? Do you love it? Are you a little bit disappointed by the movie? I want to know all that and more. And remember, subscribe. We're trying to get to 200 subscribers by next Saturday, which is February 1st. Trying to get to 200 by February. And with that said, I grew up loving Iron Man. Actually, when I was 13 years old was the first time I watched it. I was raised in a Christian household. My parents didn't want me to watch any of the Marvel movies, or any of the Iron Man and Captain America movies. I was allowed to watch all the others, just not Iron Man or Captain America. So, wasn't able to watch this movie till I was 13, but from when I was 13, I watched the movie, I loved it, all up until last week, where, unfortunately, I gotta say, on rewatch, I don't think Iron Man really worked for me all that much. I don't think it aged very well. And it's really unfortunate, because this is a movie I held so close and personal, and I just watched it, and it did not age well, in the slightest. Things I loved about this movie: obviously, Tony Stark. He's an awesome character. Robert Downey Jr. is phenomenal as this character. And it's so cool to see him in the very beginning of the movie just being this complete asshole. And knowing that by the end of his arc in Avengers Endgame, what happens. But even by the end of this movie, the way he changes as a character. Such a great arc for Tony Stark. And obviously, Robert Downey Jr. is awesome. And we gotta dive into the casting. Because obviously, one thing the Marvel Cinematic Universe is awesome at is casting these characters. Robert Downey Jr. is perfect. Jon Favreau is Happy Hogan. Unfortunately, he's not utilized as much in this movie, but when he's there, he's a good Happy Hogan, and obviously, I know what happens in the rest of the franchise. He's great in the rest of the franchise. Gwyneth Paltrow has a bigger role in this movie than I remembered, and I really like her and Robert Downey Jr.'s relationship on screen. I really enjoy that. So the character arcs, the performances, are all top-notch. I even think the action in this movie is quite good when we get it. And that's a big problem, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But the action is great. The first time we see Tony in his red Iron Man suit, the Iron Man suit, it's awesome. He just goes to the desert and he just starts beating up the terrorists. It's like a really cool fight scene. And then all of a sudden it ends. Again, we'll get to that here in just a minute. But even like the fight with Ironmonger at the end of the movie, which I didn't talk about Jeff Bridges. He's Jeff Bridges. He's good in the movie. But even the fight with Ironmonger, I thought was pretty fun inside of the movie. Terrence Howard, also as James Rhodes. A lot of people think that he should have stayed as Rhodey. I completely disagree. I think Don Cheadle is a better version of the character, has better chemistry with Tony Stark. But it is cool seeing the difference between Terrence Howard and Don Cheadle as they play the role. So it's also really cool just to see the first MCU movie, see how they planned on setting up this entire universe, especially knowing where we are right now, working this movie with such care to set up the rest of the universe. Even we got Phil Coulson in here. He just pops in, and that's really cool because it sets up the bigger universe. And I'm not gonna lie, that post-credit scene, I got chills because I'm like, oh shoot, the Avengers are coming. Even though I know what happens, it's still cool to know that the Avengers are coming. So there are moments I love in this movie. The action's good. The character moments are great. But the movie, honestly, was kind of a slog for me to rewatch. And the reason for that is the pacing in this movie is atrocious. At least on rewatch. Because the first 15 minutes when we're with Tony Stark and he's doing the Tony Stark things, being irresponsible, going to show off his missiles, that's awesome. I love that part. And then we get to the cave, and it kind of just slows the movie to a halt. And just, quite frankly, gets a little bit boring. And as soon as he escapes the cave, it has some cool character moments, but then we spend the next hour of the movie with Tony as he builds his suit. And there are some good moments in there, like I said, but it gets a little bit boring, and I'm feeling a little bit bored. And by the time we get to the first action sequence, it's really cool, but it's 5 minutes long. When something happens in the movie, it's 5 minutes long. And then we're back to Tony Stark and Jeff Bridges doing their thing and building stuff. And then we get the final action sequence, and it's 15 minutes long. It's so slow. And I know this might sound like a dumb complaint, but the MCU has a very particular pacing, where I think the movies are always so good at balancing the action with the story. There's a few rare movies that don't balance that whatsoever. But this movie just kind of felt like a slog to me. And it's unfortunate because I am a man who loved this movie growing up. Like, when I first saw it, I loved it. And I loved it up until last week when I finally rewatched it. And I just left the movie disappointed and feeling like it is a slog. Another problem is the story's also kind of stereotypical, where it doesn't really do anything special. The plan is Jeff Bridges hired the terrorists to kidnap Tony, but it doesn't quite make all that sense. Like, yeah, the terrorists did it for money and to get the weapon, whatever. But why does Jeff Bridges want Tony to die? Is it because he wants hold of the company? Probably. Well, then why at the end of the film, when he builds the Ironmonger suit, does he get in it and fight Tony? Because he gets in the Ironmonger suit and fights Tony. Number one, as soon as that fight's over, he's getting arrested for murdering federal agents. And if he gets away with it, he probably have killed Tony too. So he's going to jail. So, number one, if he got away with it, he's not getting away with it. He's just going to go to jail. Or he's just going to be stopped. He's not going to lead Stark Industries because he got in the giant robot suit and threw Tony Stark around. So, like, why did he get in the suit to begin with if he had this big plan? Why not get one of the terrorists to do it? His character just doesn't quite make sense to me. And the villains and story are just kind of stereotypical and, honestly, I hate to say it, but kind of boring. The story didn't do anything that really revitalized the genre, and most movies don't need to, but this one, to start out the MCU and have a story that's just like so stereotypical and honestly kind of predictable, kind of was boring. And again, that's where I go back to the pacing, where the movie kind of felt like a slog to me, where the pacing and story just didn't do anything to spark my interest, at least on this rewatch. Now again, it was a movie that I loved for so long. Maybe I was just in a bad mood while watching it. I don't think I was, but maybe I was. Maybe if I rewatch it again in the future, I will go back to loving it. And I sure hope I do. But this rewatch, I just did not really enjoy the movie whatsoever. And it's a little bit disappointing because Iron Man is a movie that I love. And so for my first rewatch in a couple years of this movie, it didn't really work for me. It didn't really age well for me. So before I give you my final score of Iron Man, the first film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, please subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell, and comment down below, what are your opinions on Iron Man? Did it age well for you, or do you still love the movie? I would love to know all that and more. And with that said, Iron Man has great character moments, some cool action in there, and it's awesome to see the first movie of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But honestly, the pacing and story and villains are just kind of boring to me. So Iron Man just doesn't really hold up on rewatch for me. With that said, there are still moments I love, and this is a movie that is still close to my heart for starting this universe. I'm going to give Iron Man a B. Alright, next up is the Incredible Hulk. That should be fun. I'm not a fan of the Hulk character really that much, and I've seen the movie a couple times, and I've never been the biggest fan of it. Rewatch coming soon, review coming soon. So thank you guys for clicking on this review, and with that said, subscribe.